Sci-Fi SFB Addict here. We're going to be going over the new SSDs in the Vassal engine SFB Cadet module. Let me just open it up here. I do hope you guys are actually going online instead of doing everything offline. Okay, so there are some new counters as well. Mostly for the Romulan ones, I believe. But basically anything that had the new 3G SSDs now has a counter. Anyway, we're here for the SSDs. Let's take a look. So we have a large civilian freighter. It's pretty typical of the SSDs. Now this is one of the SSDs that does have everything filled in. There are generic ones that don't. But basically anything that's got a black area like this transporter, you just click on the area, it'll pop up a little window, and if you take a transporter hit, you just reduce the number. And if you're using a generic SSD where you've got to put the information in, you just put the information in. Same thing with your shields. Just click on the area. You've got some weapons that you can click on for damage or not. So it's a large freighter, small freighter. Here's your Federation cruiser. And here's your generic Federation cruiser. Now, not all the SSDs will have the systems on the image. A lot of them I just have them listed down below to the left side of it. So some things like your sensor rating, you just click on it. You can change the numbers. Again, your weapons. Standard spreadsheet. On this one, for instance, you'll see you get drones. This is a generic, so you can use this to represent any ship. So you can put in, it has 4 G-Racks. And you just mark off the 2 racks that you don't have. And use the remaining drones. Some of them you can click on the arcs and change the arcs. So if that's the left side instead of LFL, you can change it. If you don't have that many phasers, you can delete them off. So you can use this to represent everything from a cruiser right up to a BCG. You can even use it for the Bismarck and the New Jersey if you want. Just remember that you got 2 additional photons that aren't there for boxes. And if you want to, you can simply use your SSD parts. And grab a couple boxes here and place them somewhere on your SSD to represent the additional photons. And you've also got labels. You can go in and you can label what it is, that sort of thing. You're going to have to put that into an SSD or area course, because you try and do it on the map like this. When you move your SSD, it will leave that system behind. So that's why you use SSD area windows. Okay, so right now I'm the Romulan player, so let me pull up the Romulan one. So you can go in here and you can go, hey, what is this? This is a photon. So if you need an extra box or two, you can do something like that and just place it right beside the SSD. But for the most part, you can do almost all of them. Now I do have a light cruiser one. It's the exact same one as the heavy cruiser one, except it's got a different image, and the boxes for the weapons are in a few slightly different places. But as you notice down here, all the systems are listed to the bottom left of the ship. And not on this particular one, but on the destroyer, you can actually change the image. So there's multiple images here. So you can represent lots of different ships. Generic fracs. This is the cruiser that comes with the cadet booklet. So it's got the 2 S-torps, no Fs, no phaser 3s, but you do have a generic one here where you can delete off the systems you don't need. And there you pretty much have the Gorn battlecruiser. 2 S's, 2 F's, 2 phaser 1s in each wing, 2 phaser 1s in the front, 2 phaser 1s in the rear, and 2 phaser 3s. And away you go. And you fill in the rest of the information. Left warp, right warp, center warp, APR, etc. And if you want to represent a variant like the medium cruiser, well, or let's say the war cruiser, you can change the image. You can delete off the 2 S's there, bring in the 2 center phaser 1s, and go from there. You even use these as plasma racks for plasma Ds to represent pretty much any ship. And there's more images there as well. Here's your Hydron Ranger that's included in the booklet. And until I actually start seeing usage, I kind of got lazy on the Hydrons and just used a slight modification of their previous text SSD. So this one's slightly more ugly, but it's still there. You can still represent a few other ships. Now the Hydron, unlike others, you're going to need to include fighters. So you grab your ship, you put that into your SSD area, and then you go in, whoops, there's a fighter SSD. So you can grab the 9 fighters that you need. And then just put them in there. So. So you can use this to represent pretty much any fighter. You can either use this for fusions, or if it's a fighter that doesn't have fusions, you can use it to represent chaff. I do believe I've got a different fighter. I think it might be in the SSD parts. So here's another fighter. And this one's got the chaff buttons in addition to your fusions. And of course you can apply the damage to the fighter. There is an ISC that is an SSD included in the booklet. Now the one in the booklet actually had S-torps, and if I remember correctly, actually had the F-torps in the rear. I had downgraded it to be a little bit more in balance with the other cruisers. And there's the old generic ISC. I haven't gotten to that one yet to update it. Then you got your Klingon, you got your D6, you got your D7. And I changed the image, added a few more click boxes up here to get all the information so it's generic. You can use this to represent a C7, C8, or C9. There's another one here with fewer boxes you can use to represent the D5 variants. And you got your F5 destroyers. Now I do have a box here for UAM and Durfax. It doesn't mean that that particular ship has UAM or Durfax, but there is a little check box there so you can damage them if they do. So you do need the SSD to know what information to put on it. We have the Zinti CS as included in the booklet. You have generic Zinti. Should be able to represent most Zinti ships with that. There's a Lyran. It's the old generic Lyran SSD for that. I haven't got to that yet. Now the Cadet booklet does not include an LDR, but the LDR is essentially the Lyran with a change of the phasers. So I just copied it over, deleted a couple boxes, and changed the label to phaser G. There's an Orion. And there's a generic Orion where you're going to put in the information. And you can change the image on these. The old text one is still there. There is no Paladin 3G. There are Romulans. There are no Celturian. So there's your Romulan War Eagle. Your Kestrel. There's your old generic. I threw in a generic old cruiser. Again, the system information is not there. You have to fill it all in. One here you can use for the Firehawk or the Sparrowhawk. You have one for the Condor Dreadnought. And apparently there's variants of the Condor. That's why you've got some boxes that are red. Those are for like the heavy Condor, I guess. And then you got one here for your frigate, your destroyer. Again, just delete off the systems that you don't need. Put them in for the ones you do. There are no 3G Tholians. There is the Wind because it's basically just the Orion. You can basically use the mounts for options. And I had a freighter, so I put the freighter in here as a Wind. Basically changed the color, added in a few boxes. This ship doesn't actually exist, but you can kind of use it to kind of represent an armed freighter for the Wind. And that's it for the new SSDs. Now I've gone through them as best I could. Some boxes might be a little bit misaligned. So when you click on a box, basically you want to click the center of the box. But I found that when I made a few of them, some of them that were slightly off kilter. So if you were trying to click, and let's say the top left, it wasn't doing anything. But if you clicked in the bottom right, it would. But if you clicked in the center, it wouldn't. So I've fixed most of those that I could find. So if you come across one, let me know. Now I did re-upload the file. So if you've downloaded it from December 24th to the 28th, that's the old version. You're going to want to download it again. Quickest way to know if you got the old one or the new one, or the corrected one, is take a look at some of the Klingon ships. The number 4 shield doesn't work if you click on the box. You can use it using the menu, where you just go in and you find the shield and you can bring it up that way. But clicking on the box doesn't. I have fixed that in the corrected version. So that's one fast way of finding out whether or not it works. Another one is to take a look at the Gorn generic one, the middle torpedo, the E-tube. If you cannot click on that, then you've got the old file and you have to download the newer updated version of it. Now this is not supposed to be representative of all of SFB, so you're not going to find things like bases and monitors and things like that in here. We just, quite frankly, weren't really allowed to do that quite yet. So it is usable. You do have a little less flexibility what's there, but like I said, with the SSD parts, if there's something there that you want to use and you can't find it, you can kind of pretty much make it. So you can always go into your SSD parts, pull up your labels, plop it down, grab a few boxes, and you can basically build your systems. So if you want to call this APR, you can do that, or you can use that for DAMCON. And then the number of systems, you can put in the numbers. use the other label. And you can literally build an SSD. And there's even outlines in here. There's fed, fax, scorn, hydron, ISC, etc. So you could grab an outline, change the image. And sort of build up a ship that way. So you can do stuff like that. So if you are using the module and you eventually do buy something from ADB, a product, mention that you were using the cadet booklet and that's what got you into it, and thank them for allowing it to be created. It is free, it is there, it is usable, so have fun with it.